New York City police officers will be equipped with certain drugs in order to counteract heroin overdoses. This is great news, especially considering the fact that whenever it comes to anything involving drugs, usually police enforcement don't do anything proactive or anything that would actually help someone who's addicted to the drug or is suffering an overdose. So New York's Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, along with City Police Commissioner William Bratton, announced the following. The state is providing the New York Police Department with $1.17 million from civil and criminal forfeiture cases to pay for 19,500 kits intended to equip patrol officers, including those assigned to transit and housing bureaus. Now, the kit will contain 2 syringes and 2 inhalers of a substance known as naloxone, and it's marketed under the brand name Narcan, and it basically costs about $60 each and has a 2-year shelf life. And again, it's a substance that will counteract a heroin overdose in order to save lives. Now, to just give you an idea of how successful this has been, in Suffolk County, it was used last year to save 563 people, and that's according to the Attorney General's office. In Quincy, Massachusetts, the first department in the U.S. to require its officers to carry the kits, they had used it 221 times by February and successfully reversed 211 overdoses. So this is really great news because it keeps people alive, it saves lives, and hopefully we can focus on rehabilitating people instead of prosecuting them. But the reality is, with today's drug climate, we're probably going to save their lives and then
send them to jail.
Send them to jail.
Yeah. So first of all, this might be a pet peeve, but it said there that it costs $60 per dose. If they're being charged $1.17 million for 19,500, I'm not a math genius, but I think they're being overcharged there by like 40%. But anyway, no, I think that it's great that they're able to do that. I think it's great that not just they have the capability that doctors have come up with this, but also that they care enough to prioritize it, to give the funding. I mean, it's going to cost them a lot of money, but it's going to save lives. A lot of people in other parts of the country, I think, would have said, they brought it on themselves, they're drug addicts, is it really worth the taxpayer having to pay over $1 million? But no, in a modern, compassionate society, we care for those people as well.
Yeah, I would much rather have my taxpayer dollars go toward something that actually helps the community. I would like more money funneled into rehabilitation, but if we can save lives and rehabilitate people, if we could use that combination, I'm all for it. Now, apparently heroin addiction in New York has been a really serious problem. Let me give you some statistics on that. Heroin is actually the second most commonly cited drug in the New York City Emergency Department visits. Cocaine is number 1. They also found that fatal heroin-related overdoses increased by 71% between 2010 and 2012, and New York accounts for roughly 20% of DEA seizures of the drug every year.
Wait, that graphic had to be wrong. It said that number 2 was heroin, number 1 was cocaine.
Right.
Those have to be 2 and 3. Number 1 has to be pot. I keep hearing about how it's so dangerous that clearly it's got to be responsible for more emergency room visits.
Well,
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, okay, I was about to say, you have to be sarcastic.
It doesn't send people. I bet alcohol is probably pretty high up on that list as well. For some reason, that's totally legal.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. But, very rare good news in terms of drug policy, and I'm happy that people are, getting their lives saved. I'm happy that this is being utilized, and hopefully other municipalities throughout the country, use the same tactics. So we'll see.
There are definitely going to be, in the same way that when the HPV vaccine was initially, it was like, hey, it's ready, we're going to start giving it to people. There were Republican politicians who said, no, we can't give them the HPV vaccine because they need the threat of HPV and cervical cancer to stop them from being sluts and having premarital sex. There are definitely going to be politicians who say we shouldn't have this because if they know that the police can save them from an overdose, they'll take more drugs, they'll be more risky in terms of their drug behavior. I'm just saying that this is part of the debate that we're going to have. This is in New York, but if we want this to become sort of national, we're going to have to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah, but obviously it's flawed logic. So for instance, it's the same argument that they make when it comes to legalizing drugs, right? If they say, hey, if we legalize all drugs, then people are going to do more drugs. But this is anecdotal evidence, but I think that it's indicative of how most people feel. If they legalized every single drug, are you going to smoke crack cocaine? Are you going to go do heroin if you had no interest in it previously? It's just not going to happen.
I can't doing heroin. I'm such a dork. I've never even met anyone that's done heroin.
Neither have I.
Yeah,
I hadn't even seen
insulated.
cocaine until very recently, in person. I saw it and I was like, What is that?
Yeah,
what is that?
one
White
of the
substance?
stagehands offered to it as she was sitting down. No, I'm joking. But yeah, and look, occasionally I think it's important and valuable to be real about the positions we have. So we think that most drugs should be legalized. We differ on which ones necessarily. I tend to think that almost every drug should be legal. I think that you can drink down ammonia if you want to. If you want to kill yourself, you can do it. I think that you should be able to do it with drugs as well. And they will say, as you said, that maybe people will take more drugs as a result. International evidence doesn't seem to support that. Portugal actually had lower rates after they legalized drugs. But even if they did, like, okay, we might need to fund more kits like this. Like, we're not stupid. We're not totally idealistic. We understand that there are going to be negative consequences, but thankfully science can help to mitigate some of them.
I mean, we became very successful in lowering the rate of tobacco use in the United States. And we didn't do that by prohibiting the use of tobacco. We did that by educating people about what tobacco does to your body. So the same can be true of all other substances. We had a prohibition on alcohol. That was not successful, as you guys know at this point. So, you know, you got to use common sense policy to deal with issues like this. And at least in New York right now, it's the tip of the iceberg. Hopefully we learn more.